So behind me is the NC Miata track car that we took out to Sebring International Raceway for its first track day test. Today we're going to be taking it out to the firm, or the Florida International Rally and Motorsport Park, to give it another initial test on a tighter, twistier track. Sebring is very much of a power-hungry track, whereas the firm is a much tighter track that's going to cater much more to the handling style of the NC Miata. That said, we're still on pretty much the stock setup, still with the pretty much bald all-season tires, so the performance is definitely going to be limited, but I wanted to go ahead and get another baseline test on another track in its current form before we go ahead and start toying with the suspension, the tires, and the other handling components. Now, while we're out here, I want to just take a moment and show you exactly how bad these tires are. The tread is pretty much bald, and I mean, you can see that there is not a lot there. These are 500 tread wear all-season tires, and if I zoom out here, you can see that there is very, very little tread left on them, probably less than a quarter inch. That said, I did swap the front tires to the back. I did do a tire rotation because these have a little bit more tread on them back here. And the reason I did that is the rear end was really loose and I was getting a lot of oversteer at Sebring. So I'm figuring that I might be able to keep the rear end a little bit more planted and controlled like this, but we're definitely gonna need new tires soon. That said, let's get to the laps. This was actually my third session of the day. I ended up forgetting to film the first two. The second session is when my fastest lap of the day happened, but this third session was still respectable, and the only real notable thing was that I did have a 160-pound passenger in the car. Other than that, I'm going to leave the laps to themselves, so go ahead and enjoy. Then I went out for a fourth and final session of the day, and as I left the pit, something pretty interesting happened. I started my outlap, and by the time I got to about turn 3, I ended up looking down at my dashboard and realizing that I had a check engine light on. That said, that was the end of the day. I ended up just bringing the car right back in to see what was going on with it, and then went from there. So as it turns out, this right here was the reason for the check engine light. It was the downstream oxygen sensor that went bad. As you can see, it's pretty fouled on the right side, and that's, I think, what threw the code. It was just worn out over time, just an old sensor that I think got burned from the excessive temperature it was experiencing at the track. That said, it was nothing serious. Downstream oxygen sensor is not a big deal. It's simply used to measure catalytic converter efficiency, and it was an easy about $60 to $70 replacement, which only took about 30 minutes. Then the other issue that I've been aware of that's going to need to get fixed right now is the rear suspension. As you can see, when I go ahead and look at the end of this ball joint, the dust boots are torn, which is allowing dirt and grease, well, rather letting grease out. It allows dirt into the ball joint, which is going to wear them down and make this rear suspension prone to a catastrophic failure, which is obviously a big safety issue, so I'm not going to mess with that any further, and we're actually going to go ahead and rebuild the entire rear suspension. That's going to be about all for today's video. I actually just went ahead and ordered brand new coilovers, rear suspension, and good sticky 200 tread wear tires, and I'm going to be installing all of that on the car in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. If you want to follow the rest of this NC Miata track build series, check out the playlist on my channel and be sure to subscribe to the channel. That said, thank you for watching and have a great day.